And delving more into this, joining us is Dr. Kamila Romanowska, the professor of the EU Law and Security Studies. Welcome, Doctor.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Well, let me ask you, as Germany, France, and Britain prepare to engage in talks with Iran to ease the escalating conflict in the Middle East, how can diplomacy, do you think, prevail in such a volatile situation to help avert a wider war?
Thank you, Salma, for having me. To put it plainly, the world is standing on the edge of the regional, even global war, within the global, universal even consequences. We've seen the horrifying reports, numerous people killed, hundreds injured, and the perilous escalation of strikes, including Israel's preemptive strikes on military and nuclear targets in Iran. Even in the capital of Tehran, Israel has declared an emergency, bracing the retaliation. And indeed, Iran and Israel have continued to trade strikes in the days since. Let me be absolutely clear. Europe does not want war and escalation in the region. We want peace. The last thing the European Union wants to see is the conflict from Ukraine, Gaza, Yemen, and Mashraq spreading globally. This is precisely why we need to stop this escalation and prevent global nuclear threat. We must ensure peace and de-escalation. But despite the deeply alarming situation, there is still a diplomatic exit. And if we act decisively and inclusively, we can win. Diplomacy can prevail, but only when it reflects a broad-based, multilateral and legally structured approach.
Well, Doctor,
what makes EU...
Let me interrupt you. I'm sorry. Then in your view, if you claim that Europe actually wants peace, what do you think are the practical steps that European powers can actually take to prevent such a conflict, the Israeli-Iranian conflict, from escalating into a broader regional war?
The current situation confirms strikes killing the senior Iran military commanders like Hossein Salami, is explicitly stating that this is more other way. This is the rollback of the Iranian threat, as Israel is saying. We cannot afford further escalation. Given the already dire humanitarian and geopolitical consequences for existing conflicts, Europe must act quickly and act smart. Our strategy should rest on the three parallel tracks. First of all, conflict containment. France, Germany, and UK should launch urgent diplomatic mission to both Tel Aviv and Tehran. We acknowledge Israel's stated goal of Operation Rising Lion to remove the Iranian threat, and Iran's warning to Britain and the UK, to France regarding the potential targeting of military bases. This underscores the immediate need of impartial mediation. We must involve trusted Arab mediation like Qatar, Oman, and most likely Egypt as well, to ensure cultural and regional credibility in this very sensitive discussion. Second thing is that regional signalization and NATO deterrence is important. Europe must take absolutely clear a regional spillover, whether in the Red Sea and Eastern Mediterranean or Gulf waters, would destabilize global energy and supply chains and bring us closer to global catastrophe. We already seen global oil prices rise sharply due to this conflict. Through NATO and EU defense diplomacy, we are working with the regional partners, including Turkey and Egypt, to deter wider escalation. Prime Minister Stammer's decision to send RAF jets for contingency support across the region, while Chancellor Reeves clarifies is a precautionary move, do not act as a war. This signifies seriousness within the European nations. Are we approaching the potential for broader conflict? And the third thing is information defense. Let's be honest, Salma, information warfare is a part of today's battlefield. Russia and other malign actors are exploiting social media to inflame division, to spread lies, to disrupt peace talk. And Europe is investing in joint information resilience program with Arab governments, including Egypt, to protect public and opinion from manipulation. Peace requires not just leadership, it requires informed citizens, especially when disinformation can exacerbate an already volatile situation.
Well, Dr. Kamila, given Iran's persistence on uranium enrichment, how do you think can the international actors ensure that any future dialogue with Iran remains constructive?
Well, the details of Israel's strikes hitting Iran's main nuclear enrichment site and reportedly killing its leading nuclear artist underscore the extreme stakes involved in Iran's nuclear program. Dialogue must be constructive, not naive. The only way to make that happen is to embed it with international law and enforceable verification. The EU remains fully committed to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the role of EAI, the comprehensive structure the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, known as CTBTO, institution that Egypt also strongly supports. The issue of Iranian enrichment is directly tied to nuclear threat. Natural uranium contains very little of fissile uranium-235 isotope. For peaceful nuclear power, uranium is typically a mixture of 3 to 5% of uranium-255. Crucially, enriching uranium, 20% of U-235 completes about 90% of work required to reach weapons-grade level. And the EEAA has reported Iran increasing stockpile of uranium enriched to 60%. A level that is very short, technically, from step from weapons-grade. That's the reason why we need to ensure that the specter of nuclear proliferation is already unstable in the region, and the global threat that we might determine we need to prevent. That's the reason why we need to go further. The enrichment caps must be tied to regional de-escalation benchmarks, such as Iran disengagement with conflicts in Syria, Yemen, and Iraq. Sanction relief must be phased and conditional, not front-loaded. And above all, regional actors must be included in the inspection and security dialogue. Here, Egypt, the UAE, the Saudi Arabia, Qatar can act not just as observers, but as regional guarantors of compliance. We have heard Israel ambassador to Britain, Tzipi Kovotke, expressing gratitude to Europe and Gulf nations for these strikes. But we need to act wise. Europe believes security architecture is based on law, not power alone. That is our strength. And that's why we need to
Dr.
invest.
Kamila, let me move to another point back again to the U.S. How do you think you can interpret the U.S. President Donald Trump's statement that there will soon, according to him, peace between Israel and Iran, citing the ongoing calls and meetings? And what would need to change on the ground for such optimism to be realistic and to actually happen?
Yes, we welcome President Trump's statements. There is still time for diplomacy, surely, but we can do easily to go get a deal. He's right. We need to step in and stop the war and prevent nuclear catastrophe. That's for sure. President Trump's past statement on the Russia-Ukraine conflict were quite similar, where he also promised a quick resolution, highlighted that while optimism is valuable, it must be grounded in tangible progress. The peace to be soon, certain things must happen immediately. For instance, direct and proxy attacks must stop across Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and the Gulf. The immediate priority is to halt the cycle of violence that has seen so many casualties and injuries. Nuclear activities must be frozen and verified by international agencies with credible, measurable steps to roll back a weaponization effect, as Israel has stated intention to address. And more critically, new peace framework must emerge, one that includes Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Oman as co-architects. The region doesn't need another symbolic handshake.
Okay.
It is a functional and possible peace-based
sure, absolutely.
form.
Dr. Kamila, let me move again. This week's G7 summit in Canada, that is expected to be dominated, obviously, by discussions on the Israeli-Iranian conflict. In what ways can the world leaders use the summit to explore diplomatic strategies for managing and de-escalating the situation at the moment?
Well, G7 summit is not just a photo opportunity, as someone thinks. With the conflict now dominating the agenda, as you rightly point out, it's an important figures like Prime Minister Stammer already discussing desescalation with leaders before the official meeting. Here is what we must do, in my opinion. First of all, announce a de-escalation initiative involving G7, Arab League representatives, and UN, and of course CTBTO and EIA. The coalition must engage Iran and Israel simultaneously with a commitment to freeze hostilities and protect civilian population, especially given the reports of numerous casualties, including children. Second is a nuclear non-use of pledge for Middle East. Even if informal, they will reinforce red lines against any potential radiological or tactical nuclear weapon use. This is critical to avert the global
Dr.
nuclear
Kamila,
catastrophe.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to end because I'm running out of time. Thank you so much. That was Dr. Kamila Romanowska, the professor of the EU Law and Security Studies. And thank you so much for joining us today.